Hello and welcome to Confrontation Point's video Snark. I read bad books so that you don't have to. I'm continuing my read-through of Fury by Elizabeth Miles. Not the first video, go check out the others, links are posted below. The following video might be difficult for some viewers. If you are struggling with suicidal thoughts, please reach out. People care about you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Chapter 12. Chase goes over to play a game called Ice Hoops, which is the unholy love child of basketball and hockey. Most of the first page of the chapter is taken up by explaining Halloween in the town to us, despite the fact that it's in the week between Christmas and New Year's. He also thinks about how he and Zach had come down to the lake after Zach's dad's funeral. Chase wished that his dad had been more like Zach's. At the lake, Chase feels like he shouldn't have come. He can't stop thinking about his previous misadventure with Ty. He's greeted by the other boys who greet him by making more rude remarks about how poor he is. Chase tells them to get a new insult, and Zach tells them to save the trash talk for the game. They break off into teams to play, although as they separate to their teams, Chase overhears a random boy complaining to Zach that he couldn't even get Emily's pants off and never went further than second base with her, and then the guy announces to everybody that Zach is trying to get to know Emily in a biblical sense. Chase then pauses the narration to tell us about how Zach and Gabby became an item, which, at this point, this isn't exactly adding anything new to the narration. We already know that Zach is a player. We already know that he's cheated on Gabby before Emily. Can we please stop giving timeouts to the actual plot to regurgitate information to the readers like they're somehow too stupid to have realized all of this? Was any of this necessary? They start to play ice hoops, and I take it back. Let's go back to Chase thinking about how much of a dog Zach is. I hate sports with a passion, and there's only one thing worse: sports novels. However, things get a little too heated during the game, and Chase and Zach get into a heated argument. Zach says that he can't be with Emily once Gabby comes back, so he offers Chase his, and I quote, sloppy seconds. Chase doesn't like the demeaning way he's treating Emily and calls Zach a few choice words, but Zach is quick to call Chase's six-letter F word, which, hey, I get calling Zach a Richard, but let's not use homosexuality as a slur, okay? Some of the other boys step in to try and break it up, and that lasts for all of about 2 seconds before fists start flying. The others quickly pull them apart. Zach calls Chase a psycho, and Chase goes to his car where he knows that he's shaking quite badly. When Chase goes back to the trailer park where he lives, he's surprised to see a BMW there. The car is Emily's father's, and she came to give him the playbook he forgot at her house earlier. However, Emily begins to fuss over him when she realizes that there's a cut on his face. She excuses away her behavior with the idea that her father is a doctor. Chase kind of wants to be left alone, but Emily insists that she help at least get him settled with an ice pack. As she's doing this, she asks him a million questions, but then she finally comes around to Zach because of course she did. Chase tells her that the fight was between him and Zach, and that Zach threw the first punch, and that it was because Zach is a dog who uses and discards women. He then has to explain to Emily, because she's that stupid and delusional, that the only thing Zach cares about is his own bedroom enjoyment. He's not going to break up with Gabby because of Emily. The only thing Zach wants from Emily is to get into her pants, and then she'll be tossed aside like all of the others before her. Emily, as you can imagine, is still in deep denial about her relationship with Zach. However, not only has Chase seen the same behavior from Zach, he also has proof by way of various text messages. One of them right after Chase walked in on Zach and Emily, with Zach complaining about being corked blork because he didn't have much time to do the do with Emily. The other is Zach asking Chase to help him hook up with some of those hot university girls. However, even presented with pretty good evidence as to the kind of person Zach is, Emily continues to insist that Chase doesn't understand. She's quick to leave after that. Chase kind of has one of those not my problem moments in regards to Emily, which, same. 2 people have now told her to stay away from Zach. Not because of Gabby, but because Zach is a dog about women. At this point, any heartbreak she'll face will be her own fault for not listening. After Emily leaves, Chase tries to call Ty, but it keeps going straight to voicemail. He remembers about how he'd taken her scarf earlier and thinks that if he can just smell it, then he'll be okay. Which, creepy. However, as he goes to get the scarf from the pocket of his pants, he only just finds the pocket full of ash. It's like the scarf burned, but the jeans are untouched and aren't even hot. Chapter 13. He's just jealous. It's not true. This isn't true. Emily repeated the words to herself in a low mumble as she drove away from Chase's home. The more you repeat it, does it somehow make it true? Despite the chapter opening on this note, the things that Chase not only said about Zach but also showed her are starting to make doubt creep in Emily, which, good. She reflects about some of the other things Chase said about how he and Zach got into a fight, but she thinks that fighting isn't like Zach, except Is it though? She realizes that maybe she doesn't know Zach as well as she thought. She's almost home when she decides that she needs to go confront Zach right now, so she turns around and goes over there. She just lets herself in, although I do have to remind myself that it's a small town and people tend to not lock their doors in smaller communities. She calls out for him and hears him on the phone with somebody. However, any sense of Chase was lying because he's jealous is thrown out when she overhears Zach and she starts to call him out. So you and Gabby will go out for a nice dinner when she gets back, huh? Is that where you break up with her? Or is that when you kiss her? He tries to defend himself by saying that it's okay to like soccer and football and basketball. And even I'm just sitting here going, boy, you did not just say that. Zach then decides that he's going to tell her how his stepdad and mom met. They were at the florist and stepdad was picking out flowers for another woman that he'd been dating. Mom was there to pick out flowers for her husband's funeral. I guess I kind of stopped believing in all of it after that. Love, commitment, all that bullshit. So, when did being a decent human being stop? Or did you even know how to do that to begin with? However, even Emily sides with me about that. Like, sorry that your mother was over your father before he was even in the ground, but that doesn't give you the right to cheat and toy with people like that. Zach is quick to point out that it's not like Emily is without blame here. As the saying goes, it takes two to tango, and she kissed him back, which, yes, she did. She also knew that what she was doing was wrong and was upset with the idea of hurting Gabby. Heck, even in all of this, she's still upset with what Gabby might think. But the big difference between Emily and Zach's take on this is that Emily thought that Zach would break up with Gabby and that she would be with Zach, whereas Zach was only just looking for a roll in the hay. They're both terrible people, but Zach is way worse. Emily goes home where she mopes around. She mainly thinks about how she's a terrible friend. Then she gets a text from JD and just how normal that the entire thing is cheers her up a bit. She gets some sodas for the fridge and goes next door where JD's little sister invites her to watch the end of a movie with them. After the sister leaves to go text her boyfriend. The girl is 11, so emphasis on the quotes around boyfriend. Emily apologizes to JD. She says that she was right and that Zach is a jerk who just wanted to get into her pants. JD tells her that it's okay, that she's an amazing person. He looks at her and Emily thinks that he's going to kiss her, but he reaches around her for the remote to turn off the dumb chick flick. JD says that since his parents are at home, they should have some of the alcohol. They start to do a drinking game while watching one of those aughts reality shows, which can we not? These characters are still under 21. They fall asleep after a while. Emily wakes up in the middle of the night, time unknown, since the TV clock is blinking after some sort of power outage. She looks at JD asleep on the other side of the sofa and thinks that he looks like some hot guy that she'd want to get to know, rather than the kid who grew up in the house next door to her. She gets a weird sensation of being watched and looks around. Outside the window, she sees a blonde girl with a menacing smile, but a second later, the girl is gone. However, Emily only just feels like she's going crazy when she also remembers the weird note she found in her pocket. She moves closer to JD, but she's unable to fall back asleep for the rest of the night. Chapter 14. She suggested a French place in a beach town about 20 minutes up the highway. He briefly panicked. The place Lumiere de la Mer had a reputation of being one of southern Maine's most upscale restaurants with prices to match. But he'd kept his vocal reaction cool. He'd find some way to swing it. He had to. They would kiss again, more than before, and he would ask her to come to the football feast. Even if you remove the supernatural aspect of this story, it's still leaving me with so many unanswered questions about Ty's interest in Chase. Like, she's been to the literal trailer where he lives and knows that he's poor. Why is she hanging around him and inviting him to a crazy fancy restaurant? Furthermore, why is this classy college girl hanging around a high school junior? Nothing about this relationship adds up in any way. And I know that Chase is only thinking with his downstairs head, but come on, nothing about this seems right. Chase gets ready, and in this author's particular style, the only thing that could possibly make this scene worse would be if the author had name-dropped what kind of razor Chase used to shave. He goes to the convenience store where his mom works and asks to borrow her credit card for the night. She gives him some of the best advice from a parent in a young adult novel that I've ever read. Whoever this girl is, she should be impressed with you, and not the kind of dinner you take her to. But she does relent and gives Chase the credit card. However, I will say one thing, and at least Chase knows about debitors because of whatever nonsense his dad got into that came to light after he died. So while taking a girl I met a week ago to a super expensive restaurant isn't exactly smart, at least the narration highlights that he's probably not going to be too reckless with the card. Would you care for something to drink? A glass of wine while you wait? This guy wasn't going to card him? No wonder this place was so popular. Considering that the narration acts like everybody is over 21, I don't know why the narration would bother to stop now. Although the idea that Chase has a thought about the restaurant carding him, but then carries on and orders whiskey anyway, bugs the carp out of me. It's obvious that the author knows that teenagers shouldn't have that kind of access to alcohol, but she continued to write it anyway. He orders a whiskey and then waits for nearly half an hour for Ty. He keeps loudly telling the waiter that he's waiting for somebody because some seniors from the high school are there and they're clearly making fun of him from a distance. He keeps ordering whiskeys and he's getting a little drunk from them without having eaten anything. Sasha Boulder had just walked into the restaurant. She was walking towards him, and there was blood flowing from her head around her face. Chase naturally freaks out, as one does upon seeing something like that. He backs up but trips over the dessert coat. At this point, Sasha comes forward, but it turns out to be some random girl that Chase has never seen before. Chase then pays his bill and is kind of upset over the $30 he spent on booze. He's even more upset that Ty stood him up and vows that he's over her. We'll see how long that lasts. He drives out near the new mall in the hopes of finding Ty's house, but he isn't sure that he can find the turnoff and isn't about to go wandering around the creepy woods at night, even if he doesn't believe the ghost stories. He thinks that he finds the path but can't find the house. However, as he's driving away, she finally texts him that something came up and please forgive me. Chase instantly forgives her, which, wow dude, that didn't even last a page. He texts her back and keeps driving, but he's so distracted by thoughts of Ty that he hadn't realized that he'd driven out to Piss Pass, which is where Sasha jumped from. He'd been trying to avoid the place since the incident. He gets a text from Ty and takes his eyes off from the road for 1 second, but the roads are really icy and he begins to slip towards the guardrail of the bridge. But just before his car slips off to his doom, the car is suddenly in the correct lane and everything is just hunky-dory. Chase pulls over and thinks that it's just because he's a little drunk. He looks over to his phone and sees that the message from Ty is warning him about the icy roads. The contents of this book can be quite intense, I know. If you need help, please don't hesitate to reach out. People care about you. National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-8255. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday, but stick around because I sometimes drop random videos on other days too. Just as a reminder, even if you can't financially support me, there are other ways to help me out. The first is watching this video as well as all of my other videos. It's also important to like and subscribe. Finally, you can share this video with all of your friends so that they can help as well. If you're already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated every morning. And if you've already read all of my main Snarks, then you can find even more Snark on my Patreon. You can access it for $1 a month. Members also get early access to my main Tumblr Snark. Special thanks to Dawn, Phoebe, and Nikki for supporting me on Patreon already. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, you can either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Do you like my Snark so much that you want me to snark your writing? I do that too. For just $6 per chapter, I will tell you how awful that your writing is. But not to worry if you feel like you couldn't take the criticism. I also offer regular book editing as well, just 1 cent per word. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions. If you want to read some of the things that I've written, you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have a slew of erotic short stories and now 2 full-length novels. I also sometimes run flash sales on my stories, and if you don't follow me on any social media, you might want to do so just so you can know when I might be offering more things for free. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!